where the Niners held an introductory press conference for Mike Evans yesterday. Earlier this week, the star wide receiver signed a 3-year deal for $42 million that comes after spending 12 years in Tampa Bay. Here is what Mike Evans said that he saw in San Francisco.
A team that always compete, even with the injuries last year. I think they went 13-4. I mean, I feel like they were one piece away, and I think that I'm that piece. And I look forward to coming here and improving that.
Okay. Missing piece. Graz, do you agree? Is Mike Evans the missing piece from Niners hoisting a Lombardi trophy?
I think he's one of them. Look, a lot of the missing pieces last year were guys they had but were hurt. Right? You get Nick Bosa back. You get Fred Warner back. Those are some missing pieces, too. I would like to see the 49ers add a speed guy at wide receiver if they can. You know, they have Mike Evans, they have Ricky Pearsall. They're not going to have Brandon Ayuk. I think they could still build that wide receiver group out a little bit. But I love the signing for San Francisco. I think he's a perfect fit for what they want to do.
I look at this, and I know San Francisco is maybe a bigger market, and it's a bigger story because he's going there. Tampa's been pretty good the last few years and have a young quarterback themselves, and Mike Evans is saying, I wanted to go get a Lombardi trophy. What would that say about Tampa Bay?
Yeah, Peter, when you talk to people around the league, they were surprised when he signed for essentially $16 million in guarantees. And look, you mentioned it earlier in the week on Get Up about how this was Jason Light's first pick, and I'm sure they wanted to keep him. So it says something that he wants to leave Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield that for, again, less than $20 million for a receiver of his, ilk. It just seems odd, to say the least. And look, he only played 8 games last year, and I know, look, he may not have the juice of like Devontae Adams and all, but he's a bigger body guy. He's somebody that can make plays in the red zone. Somebody that can make plays on third down. And it's just surprising that he would leave Tampa Bay not for a lot of money whatsoever.
Yeah, Damian Woody, we go to that Devontae Adams comparison. A lot of people are saying this is the Devontae Adams for the Rams. Do you see it that way? Mike Evans as this game changer at this stage of his career?
No, I don't think he's on the caliber of Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams is a route running savant, and we saw the impact that he had with the Rams. But I will say this about Mike Evans. Sometimes when you have change like this, it puts you in an uncomfortable situation. And I think when you have elite athletes like Mike Evans, they tend to rise to the occasion. He's going to be utilized in the red zone. I mean, listen, when you're a 6'5" wide receiver, hell, throw it to him, 50-50 guy. There's not many guys that's going to be able to compete with that. So he's definitely going to be utilized with Kyle Shanahan in that offense. But listen, Devontae Adams was special. And we saw when he got hurt, the effect that it had on the Rams offense.
I think the Devontae Adams comparison is about the red zone and the goal line. What the Rams did with Devontae Adams last year was basically make him their goal line offense as opposed to the run game because, the teams are going to crowd the line. We know our guy can win off the line and our quarterback can find him. So I think that's a big part of this when you look at San Francisco, what they could and couldn't do when they got in close last year. I think he helps with that.
Joe, you look at the NFC West, obviously the two teams in the NFC Championship game, and San Francisco got to the divisional round. Does this move change anything in the Vegas vantage point?
It helps, but I'm still bearish on the Niners. You can talk about how well they played with all the injuries last year, but you do have to factor in it was one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. That's something to consider as well. A few other factors defensively, even with Bosa coming back, the D-line could use some help. The O-line could use some help. Wide receiver outside of Evans has been inconsistent at times. And Christian McCaffrey played all 17 games last year.
Yep.
That worries me because if you look at his history, almost every year where you see him playing a full season, the next year there are issues. Not to say, but have they moved the power substation? If they've moved the substation, maybe.
Stop with that.
People are saying. I'm not saying. People are saying.
That and soccernomics.
That's it. You are doing it.
A lot of stuff that makes no sense.
Bosa, Warner, Kittle, all set to return and run this thing back. Keep an eye on Kansas City. Check out this shirt he wore. He comes off the plane, and he's wearing a John Madden Raiders shirt as he arrives in Kansas City. We love that. This is his arrival, private jet, rolling in style. The Super Bowl MVP. The Chiefs, of course, are hoping that Walker has a few great rushing seasons so he can supplant Patrick Mahomes on this list. Most rushing yards since 2018. It's Mahomes more than Pacheco and Kareem Hunt and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Running back has been always an interesting position in Kansas City, and they just paid top dollar for one in Kenneth Walker. Mike T, does Kenneth Walker, the addition of a Super Bowl MVP who picked up the carries really at the midway point of the season. Is he what's going to get Kansas City's offense back and going?
Not really. I'm still skeptical. They still need a right tackle. He's very good between the tackles, but when you look at what Andy Reid likes to do with his running backs, going back to the Brian Westbrook in Philadelphia, he likes them to be able to catch out of the backfield. Kenneth Walker only had 31 catches. I'm still very skeptical about this team. I think Patrick Mahomes one day will be Superman again. I'm not so sure that happens on opening day. And when you trade what, to me, is one of your 5 best players in Trent McDuffie, I was thinking like, okay, maybe we're in a mini rebuild here. We're not sure when Patrick will be ready to go. So to me, that was inconsistent with signing Kenneth Walker and bringing back Travis Kelce, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's 37. He's closer to the end. I still think this is the 3rd best team in the AFC West.
3rd best team. Damian Woody, what do you make of this? Kenneth Walker, we're excited. He's gotten off the private jet. Everything, much ado about nothing?
You know, Bill Walsh had a saying, it's better to get rid of a player a year early than hold on to too late. I said, that's what I see with Kansas City. Oof. Like, they're just running back with the same guys, Chris Jones, the Travis Kelce and company. And it's just, I don't think it's enough when you look at where the other teams are in the division. I'm talking about the Broncos, the Chargers, and so on and so forth. And on the greater picture, the AFC, where's the explosiveness in the passing game? That's been a bugaboo for the Kansas City Chiefs for years now, and I don't see that being addressed. Obviously, the defensive backfield is going to be a big issue because defensively, that's what really let them down last year. The lack of being able to close out games. So you got to figure all these things out while other teams are being aggressive and getting better.
They lost 3 defensive backs in the span of 3 days.
Yeah, and look, they believe in their ability to draft and develop at those positions, and they've proven that. So they'll figure it out. But to the explosive part, like it can be harder to find explosive elements at wide receiver. So if you get one at running back, I think that's good. I'm not comparing these 2 players. Sure. But go back a couple years when the Eagles made that big spend on Saquon Barkley. Yep. The idea was, there's not a big play explosive wide receiver we can go get, but this guy can do it at running back. Ken Walker, to some extent, lesser extent, offers you an explosive big play element at the running back position. They have not had that in forever. So they do need a right tackle. They do need another wide receiver or 2. And obviously they need to rebuild that secondary and make sure the parts of their roster that are getting old are addressed. Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. You need to have succession plans for those kinds of guys. Ultimately, I think the Chiefs season will rise and fall on the health of Patrick Mahomes, how quickly he's back looking like his old self. But I also have believed all along that the way the Chiefs operate this offseason will tell us a lot about where they project Mahomes' recovery timetable. And if they are feeling like they're in a rebuild tinkering mode, that tells you that maybe it might not be right away.
Shrigs, what Dan's described to me was Jeremiah Love. And I think when Jeremiah Love had that incredible workout at Indy, I'm sure they said, hey, be it Tennessee, Giants, someone's going to take him before 9. And I'm not so sure if Kenneth Walker was sort of like, hey, this is the best running back we can get, even though he's not like the home run hitter that Graz is describing to me is Jeremiah Love. Now they lost 3 corners. So, again, I'm not so sure how they're better.
Joe, how's Vegas looking at the Chiefs? I know it's only mid-March, but you look at this, and it's, all right, they lost a lot, but they did bring in a Super Bowl MVP.
Win total's at 10.5. It's a popular team, but Holmes is coming back. So, naturally, you got to be careful from a liability standpoint and set a high number because you're going to take money. But I think the bet on anything here would be under. That's one of the cardinal sins, and one of the easiest ways to step in it is to pay top dollar for a guy coming off a championship performance. The book Soccernomics is all about this. Soccernomics. I've read a book before, and that's one of them. Think about the
What's
Angels.
What's the theory of Soccernomics?
It's how teams in European soccer can compete without the same budget as everybody else. How do you find value, essentially?
Like Moneyball.
Exactly, yeah. It's Moneyball. Anthony Rendon is a perfect example of this. The performance in the World Series, the Angels overpaid for him. That's what's happening here. I thought that was a terrible move for Kansas City.
They spent too much. Okay, we'll see. Time will tell. We've got plenty of other football to talk because Mike Evans, an all-time Buccaneer, joins the 49ers. Is he the missing piece? And does he still have what we think is enough left in the tank to make a difference? We'll hear after this. And also, SGA, a historic night versus the Celtics. How does it shake up the West, the MVP race, and even the NBA Finals picture?